The conservative-leaning court handed down major victories affirming religious freedom. 4 cases before the court dealt with religious liberty issues, including Kennedy versus Bremerton School District, in which the court ruled a former high school football coach has a constitutional right to pray on the field after games. In Carson v. Macon, the justices ruled the state of Maine cannot exclude religious schools from a state-funded tuition program. And in earlier rulings this year, the court said the city of Boston violated the First Amendment for refusing to fly a Christian flag outside City Hall while allowing other groups to use the flagpole to promote their causes. And the court ruled in favor of a Texas death row inmate who requested his pastor be able to lay hands on him and pray aloud at his execution.
With us now is Tony Perkins, president of Family Research Council. Tony, thanks for being here. The court this term delivered major protections for religious freedom. At the same time, polling shows confidence in the Supreme Court has sunk to all-time lows. How do you think evangelicals rate the court after some of these key opinions?
Well, Caitlin, I think what we see here now is we see a court returning to the Constitution and ruling in alignment with the written document of the Constitution. And I actually think what we're seeing is evangelicals, social conservatives, Catholics, those that have been involved in the political process for the last 40 years, trying to elect people who are pro-life, who are constitutionalist. We see the fruit of that. We are now at a point where we have a court that has returned to the actual Constitution instead of creating things out of thin air. Now, obviously, there are some people that are not happy with that. When you look at the left, it has leaned on the court to do their political policy for decades. But now, I think what you've even had the president saying this earlier this week, or actually last Friday, saying that Roe will be on the ballot in the fall. So I think finally the left is realizing they're going to have to go to work and affect elections if they want to pass their policy initiatives.
Tony, speaking of Roe, President Biden took his support for Roe, making Roe the law of the land actually up a notch. I want you to take a listen, and we'll get your thoughts on the other end of the soundbite.
I believe we have to codify Roe v. Wade in the law, and the way to do that is to make sure the Congress votes to do that. And if the filibuster gets in the way, it's like voting rights. It should be, we provide an exception for this, require an exception to the filibuster for this action to deal with the Supreme Court decision.
And Tony, as you hinted earlier, for anyone who thought last week's decision overturning Roe was final, that's clearly not the case, is it?
No, and John, 2 thoughts on that. Number one, the president's admission that they have to codify it means that for 49 years, this hasn't been the law. It's been a court ruling. The court created abortion. They created this right. You know, what the court creates, the court can take away. And so the president there, once again, not wanting to go through the full length of the process of going out, convincing people that this is what we need to do. You need to elect people who support your view that we need to abort babies up to the moment of birth. That's not what he's doing. He's saying we need to short circuit the system. We need to eliminate the filibuster for this one thing. Not everything, but for this one thing. But John, here's the reality. If they change the filibuster on this, as they were trying to do on voting rights, when the Republicans are in the majority, they can do the same thing. And then what you have is basically a tennis match, back and forth after each election. There, you talk about destabilizing, as the president called the court decision. That would be destabilizing to our entire country.
Switching gears quickly, FRC released a report today at the International Religious Freedom Summit in Washington. It looks at growing intolerance toward Christians, but not where most people would think. You described the report as a warning call. Can you quickly explain?
I can, Caitlin. As the former chair of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, I've been shocked in the last 2 years, especially in the wake of COVID, the increasing authoritarianism that we're seeing from Western governments. And here's the bottom line of our report, is that as we understand the value of promoting international religious freedom, we cannot promote abroad what we don't protect here at home. And so we've got to focus on protecting religious freedom. That's not just the freedom to believe, but to live according to those beliefs as well.
All right, Tony, we are unfortunately out of time. Hopefully we'll get the chance to talk to you more about that report later. Tony Perkins with the Family Research Council, thanks for being with us tonight.
Absolutely.